The massive alien vessel hovered above Seoul, casting long shadows over the government buildings. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen, a smooth silver ship that seemed to defy gravity. News stations across the world broadcasted the historic moment. This was humanity's first contact with intelligent life from beyond Earth. Ambassador Park stood on the landing platform, trying to hide his nervousness. Next to him stood General Lee and Dr. Moon, Earth's military and scientific representatives. They had practiced for this moment for weeks, but nothing could truly prepare them for meeting aliens face to face. "They're coming," Dr. Moon whispered, pointing at the small shuttle detaching from the main ship. The shuttle descended silently, touching down with barely a whisper. After a moment of stillness, a door slid open, revealing a soft blue light from within. 3 different alien species emerged. The first was tall and slender with blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The second was shorter with 4 arms and large, owl-like eyes. The third moved on 6 legs with a body covered in what looked like golden fur. Ambassador Park stepped forward, remembering his training. "Welcome to Earth," he said, bowing slightly as was customary in Korean culture. The blue-skinned alien, clearly the leader, approached. "I am Envoy Trill of the Galactic Concord. We come in peace and friendship." Its voice was musical, almost like it was singing the words. A gust of wind suddenly blew across the platform. Trill visibly flinched, nearly losing balance. The other aliens grabbed onto nearby railings. "Are you all right?" Park asked, concerned. Trill straightened up, looking embarrassed. "Your atmosphere, it's so turbulent. And your gravity is crushing me. We've prepared as best we could, but it's challenging." "This is normal for us," Park replied, confused by their reaction. The breeze was mild, and the day was pleasant by Earth standards. The meeting moved inside to a prepared reception hall. Park noticed the aliens moving carefully, as if each step required great effort. "Please, sit," Park offered, gesturing to specially designed chairs. He picked up a heavy water pitcher to pour drinks for their guests. "Would you like some water?" Trill's eyes widened watching Park lift the pitcher with one hand. "Your physical capabilities are concerning, Ambassador." Park set down the pitcher, uncomfortable. "Concerning? I don't understand." The owl-eyed alien spoke up. "What Envoy Trill means is that your species has evolved under conditions we find extreme. High gravity, atmospheric pressure, temperature variations, harmful radiation from your sun. You live on what we call a death world, Ambassador," Trill explained. "A planet so harsh that most civilized species couldn't survive here without significant technological assistance." General Lee leaned forward. "A death world? That sounds rather dramatic." "Not to us," said the 6-legged alien. "Most intelligent species in the Concord evolved on gentle worlds. Stable climates, low gravity, filtered starlight, minimal predators." Park exchanged glances with his colleagues. Dr. Moon looked fascinated, quickly taking notes. "Is Earth really so unusual?" Dr. Moon asked. "More than you know," Trill replied. "The fact that you developed intelligence and technology, while also possessing such physical resilience, is rare." The reception continued with discussions about cultural exchange and potential trade. The aliens seemed increasingly interested in human history, particularly how humans had survived natural disasters and wars. While getting more refreshments, Park overheard 2 of the aliens whispering in a corner. He shouldn't have been able to hear them, but another death world trait was his excellent hearing. "They're like the others. Should we tell them?" The owl-eyed alien whispered. "No," the 6-legged alien hissed back. "The Concord Protocol is clear. Separation must be maintained." Park pretended not to hear, but his mind raced. Others. There were other species like humans. Later that evening, Envoy Trill presented Park with an official document. "After our preliminary assessment, the Concord would like to formally invite Earth to join our galactic community." Park felt a surge of pride. This was a historic moment for humanity. However, Trill continued, there are certain containment protocols we must insist upon. Containment. General Lee asked sharply, what exactly does that mean? Trill's expression was difficult to read. Just standard procedures for new members. Restrictions on how many ships you can build, which sectors of space you can access, the types of technology we can share. Dr. Moon frowned. That sounds less like membership and more like supervised probation. I assure you, it's for everyone's benefit, Trill said smoothly. The galaxy is a dangerous place. New species need guidance. Park noticed how Trill avoided mentioning anything about Deathworlders or the others in the formal proposal. The document itself was filled with diplomatic language about safety and gradual integration, but the restrictions were extensive. That night, after the aliens returned to their ship, Earth's delegation met in a secure room. They're afraid of us, General Lee said flatly. Did you see how they reacted to basic human strength? Not just afraid, Park added. They're hiding something. I heard them mention others like us. Dr. Moon looked up from studying the proposal. These restrictions would effectively keep us confined to our solar system for the next 50 years. And look at this section. They want access to human genetic material and the right to study our physiology. Park stared out the window at the alien ship glowing against the night sky. We need to find out more before we sign anything. If there are other Deathworld species out there, I want to know what happened to them. The next morning, when Envoy Trill asked if Earth had made a decision about joining the Concord, Ambassador Park smiled diplomatically. We're honored by your invitation, but humanity will need time to consider such an important step. In the meantime, we'd like to learn more about the other members of the Concord. All of them. Trill's blue skin seemed to pale slightly. Of course, Ambassador. All in good time. Lieutenant Kim wiped sweat from her forehead as she worked late into the night at the Concord Educational Exchange Facility. 6 months had passed since the aliens first arrived on Earth. The negotiations for Earth's entry into the Galactic Concord moved slowly, with endless discussions about trade routes, technology sharing, and the mysterious containment protocols. As Earth's military attaché, Kim had been granted limited access to the Concord's cultural and historical database. The aliens claimed this access was to help humans learn about their new galactic neighbors. But Kim had noticed odd gaps in the information. Entire species barely mentioned, star systems marked as restricted, and vague references to specialized labor forces. Tonight, she was using a trick she had discovered 3 weeks ago. The Concord's computer systems had a flaw. When 2 different access requests were sent simultaneously, sometimes the system granted both instead of checking permissions properly. It wasn't exactly hacking, more like finding an unlocked door. Let's see what's behind door number 3, Kim muttered, typing quickly. Her screen flickered, then displayed a warning message in the Concord's standard language. She held her breath. After a moment, the warning disappeared, replaced by a directory of files she had never seen before. Classified Species Management Protocols, she read aloud. Interesting. Kim downloaded everything she could, hiding the files in an innocuous folder labeled Cultural Cuisine Database. She didn't dare read them here where the Concord might monitor her activities. Back in her secure office at the Korean Ministry of Defense, Kim finally opened the files. Her eyes widened as she scanned through document after document. This can't be right, she whispered. The next morning, she requested an urgent meeting with Ambassador Park. When he arrived, she locked the door and activated the room's security measures. No electronic signals could get in or out. Ambassador, look at this, she said, displaying her findings on a secure screen. There are other Deathworlders in the Concord. Park leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. Other species from planets like Earth. Are you certain? Completely, Kim replied, bringing up the first file. The Vargar. Reptilian beings from a planet called Vargrom. Surface gravity 1.4 times Earth's. Temperature ranges from 40 to 70 degrees Celsius. Highly volcanic with frequent electrical storms. The screen showed images of tall, powerful beings with scales that ranged from deep green to burnished copper. They walked upright on two legs but had tails for balance. Their hands ended in sharp claws. According to these files, the average Varg can lift nearly 3 times its body weight. Their scales resist heat and pressure that would crush most Concord species. Park studied the images. They look formidable. They are, Kim agreed. But look at this. They've been Concord members for over 200 years, but their population is restricted to certain sectors, primarily used for mining operations in extreme environments where other species can't survive. She swiped to the next file. And then there's the Krell. The screen showed insectoid creatures with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs. Their bodies were sleek and elegant, despite their alien appearance. The Krell evolved on a world bathed in radiation from a nearby pulsar. Their planet's atmosphere is toxic to most species. They can survive radiation levels that would kill other Concord species instantly. Park's expression grew troubled. And how does the Concord use them? Toxic waste management, containment of hazardous materials, cleanup of radiation spills, Kim said. They're essentially the Concord's hazmat team. She pulled up more documents. The pattern is clear. The Concord identifies species from extreme worlds, brings them into the fold with promises of galactic citizenship, then restricts their movements, and uses their natural abilities for specialized tasks. They're keeping us separated, Kim realized aloud. There's explicit policy here. Deathworld species are never to learn about each other. Their territories never overlap. Their representatives never meet at Concord assemblies. Park paced the small room. This explains their reaction when they first met us. They weren't just surprised by our strength. They were categorizing us. Exactly, Kim said, bringing up the final document. And this is what they want humans for. The file showed detailed analyses of human physical capabilities, psychological profiles, and combat potential. There were simulations of humans in various combat scenarios against other species. Military applications, sir, Kim said, her expression darkening. They see us as potential soldiers. The file specifically mentions our endurance, adaptability, and what they call our concerning capacity for organized violence. Park sat heavily in a chair. All those questions about our military history, our sports competitions, our survival training. They were assessing our combat potential. The containment protocols make sense now, Kim said. They want to control how many of us can leave Earth, where we can go, what technology we can access, just like they did with the Varg and the Krell. Park stared at the screen. How many other Deathworld species are there? Kim shook her head. These files only mention these 2 specifically, but there are hints of others, possibly species that rebelled or proved too difficult to control. They sat in silence for a moment, considering the implications. We need to tell the rest of the delegation, Park finally said, and we need to be very careful about how we proceed with these negotiations. There's one more thing, sir, Kim said hesitantly. According to these files, both the Varg and the Krell have representatives currently stationed at the Concord diplomatic station orbiting Jupiter. Park's eyes widened. So close. Do they know about us? I don't think so, Kim replied. The files suggest they're kept isolated, told they're there for specialized work. But sir, we could contact them, Park finished her thought. If we could speak with other Deathworlders directly. It would change everything, Kim said. The Concord's been manipulating species like ours for centuries. Maybe it's time someone broke the pattern. Park nodded slowly. Lieutenant, I need you to find a way to send a message to these other Deathworlders, something that won't alert the Concord. Can you do that? Kim smiled for the first time that day. Already working on it, sir. Space Station Harmony floated at the edge of the solar system, technically neutral territory, where various species could meet for trade and diplomacy. The station's design featured sections with different gravity levels and atmospheric compositions to accommodate visitors from across the galaxy. Ambassador Park and Lieutenant Kim arrived in an unmarked shuttle, claiming to be there for routine cultural exchange meetings. They wore plain clothes without Earth insignia to avoid drawing attention. "Are you sure your message reached them?" Park asked as they walked through the bustling main concourse. Aliens of a dozen different species moved around them, some floating in anti-gravity belts, others rolling on specialized mobility devices. Kim nodded slightly. "I'm sure. I used the mining emergency code from the files to contact the Varga representative. For the Krell, I had to be more creative. I arranged for a false radiation leak report in their sector." "And if they don't come?" Park asked. "Then we go home and try again," Kim said simply. "But they'll come. If they're anything like us, they'll be curious." They reached the private meeting room they had booked under a false company name. Inside was a simple table with chairs designed for various body types. Kim secured the room, using a device she had brought to detect and block surveillance equipment. "Clear," she said finally. "Now we wait." They didn't wait long. The door chimed exactly at the arranged time. Park took a deep breath and pressed the entry button. The door slid open to reveal two of the most imposing beings either human had ever seen. The first was a Varga, standing over 7 feet tall, with powerful muscles visible beneath emerald scales that caught the light. A tail swayed behind for balance, and sharp claws tipped each finger. The Varga's face was reptilian, but with surprisingly expressive eyes, currently narrowed with suspicion. Beside the Varg stood a Krell. More slender but no less intimidating, the insectoid being had 4 arms and walked on 2 legs with backward-bending knees. Its carapace shimmered with blues and purples that seemed to shift as it moved. 2 large compound eyes studied the humans intently. For a moment, nobody spoke. 3 species from 3 different death worlds, meeting in secret against the explicit rules of the Galactic Concord. The Varga broke the silence. "I am Hack," he rumbled, his voice deep and gravelly. "Mining operations supervisor, officially. Glorified cave digger, in reality. I am Neri," the Krell said, her voice creating clicking sounds between words. "Radiation specialist is my designation." Park stepped forward, bowing slightly from habit. "Ambassador Park from Earth. This is Lieutenant Kim, our military attaché." "So the rumors were true," Hack said, moving into the room and closing the door behind them. "Another Deathworld species. We heard whispers among the transport crews. A new planet being assessed, dangerous beings with strange abilities." "You knew about us?" Kim asked, surprised. "Not specifically," Neri clarified. "Information control in the Concord is efficient but not perfect. Workers talk. We notice patterns." "How long have your people been in the Concord?" Park asked, as they all took seats around the table. 2 centuries, Neri clicked. "Always restricted. Always utilized. The Varga joined nearly 300 years ago," Hack added. "At first, we thought it was an honor. Our people celebrated joining the galactic community." His scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a bitter smile. "We didn't understand the pattern yet." "The pattern," Park prompted. "First, they praise your unique abilities," Neri explained. "Then they express concern about your potential danger to others. Finally, they offer membership with temporary restrictions, restrictions that never end." Hack nodded. "My great-grandfather was told the mining assignments were just until the Varga adjusted to galactic society. 3 generations later, we're still in the mines." Kim pulled out a secure data pad. "We found files about both your species, about how the Concord classifies and utilizes Deathworlders. We wanted to confirm if these assessments were accurate." For the next several hours, the 4 of them shared stories about their worlds, their abilities, and their experiences with the Concord. The Varga described their volcanic homeworld, where crushing gravity and extreme heat had shaped their evolution. They could endure temperatures that would cook most species alive and pressure that would collapse their lungs. "Our scales aren't just armor," Hack explained, holding out his arm. "They regulate our body temperature and resist corrosive environments. The Concorde sends us where their precious robots fail. Deep mines, gas giant platforms, volcanic moons. Neri told them of the Krell homeworld, bathed in radiation from a nearby pulsar. We evolved to not just survive radiation but process it. Our bodies can absorb types of energy that would destroy your cellular structure. So the Concorde uses you for hazardous waste management, Kim said, pieces falling into place. And emergency response to radiation leaks, Neri added. When their technology fails, they send us in. Less expensive than developing better containment systems. The human shared Earth's story. A world of varied climates, natural disasters, and evolutionary pressure that had produced beings with remarkable endurance and adaptability. Humans can survive in deserts, Arctic conditions, high mountains, and deep valleys, Park explained. We can eat almost anything, adapt to different gravity environments, and endure physical hardship that would kill most Concorde species. And they want you as soldiers, Hack guessed. Kim nodded. The files were clear. They view our history of warfare as both disturbing and potentially useful. As night station time approached, they began discussing the implications of their meeting. They've manipulated us all, Kim said finally, kept us apart, exploited our abilities. Each Deathworld species isolated, told we're dangerous, used for our physical capabilities while being denied full participation in galactic society. Within days, the first joint Deathworlder defense force was assembled. Humans contributed tactical planning and adaptability. The Varga provided strength and heat resistance. The Krell brought their immunity to radiation and toxins. Together, they formed squads that could fight in environments no standard Concorde force could survive. The Battle of Proxima Station was their first test. The swarm had taken the station, using it as a forward base. The station's life support was failing, its gravity fluctuating wildly. Perfect conditions for humans, Kim said as their strike team prepared to board. She had insisted on joining the frontline forces, her military training too valuable to waste in a command center. The human teams moved through the station's compromised sections, adapting quickly to the changing gravity and oxygen levels. They secured the central control room, while Concorde forces would have been gasping for breath. In the asteroid fields of Kelper, mining facilities were under heavy attack. The Varga battle teams took the lead, their powerful bodies untroubled by the crushing gravity of the asteroid's mining cores. Hack personally led the assault on the largest facility, tearing through metal barriers that blocked their path. No Concorde species could have survived that pressure, a Concorde commander admitted, watching the footage of Varga warriors operating in conditions that would have crushed standard troops. On the toxic moon of Harrow, the swarm deployed chemical weapons that dissolved standard Concorde environmental suits. The Krell advanced through clouds of poison, their natural resistance allowing them to secure the moon's critical communication array. Neri coordinated the operation, her body processing toxins that would have killed any other species instantly. After a month of joint operations, the tide began to turn. The swarm, expecting easy victories against the soft species of the Concorde, found themselves facing enemies as tough and adaptable as themselves. The final confrontation came at the swarm's forward command center, a massive ship orbiting a dead star. Intelligence suggested this was where the swarm's leadership coordinated their attacks. A joint strike team was assembled, the best fighters from all three Deathworld species. Park insisted on joining despite his diplomatic role. Kim, Hack, and Neri were already aboard the assault shuttle. 4 Deathworlders, 1 mission. Hack rumbled as their ship approached the massive swarm vessel. The Concorde would never have allowed this 3 months ago. The battle was brutal. The swarm fighters were strong, fast, and seemingly immune to pain. But they had never faced a coordinated team of different Deathworld species before. Kim's tactical awareness helped them navigate the ship's strange layout. Hack's raw strength breached doors that would have stopped any human cold. Nari detected and neutralized toxic traps that would have ended their mission instantly. Park's diplomatic training proved valuable when they captured a swarm commander and needed to extract information. They fought their way to the ship's bridge, each protecting the others when environmental hazards targeted their specific weaknesses. When a radiation leak threatened the humans, Neri shielded them with her body. When acidic gas filled a chamber, Hack carried Kim through it. When crushing gravity plates activated, the humans found a way to disable them before the others were injured. After hours of fighting, they secured the command center. The swarm leadership, faced with the combined might of 3 Deathworld species, retreated their forces back toward unknown space. As the enemy flagship pulled away, Kim turned to her companions. They were all injured. Park was nursing a broken arm. Hack's scales were scared from acid, and one of Neri's limbs hung useless at her side. But they were alive, and they had won. Still think Deathworlders should be kept apart? Kim asked, a tired smile on her face. A Concord official's voice came through their comms. The enemy is in full retreat. You've saved the Concord. Report back for medical attention and debriefing. Park looked at his fellow Deathworlders. I think it's time for a new conversation about our place in the galaxy. Hack nodded. One the Concord cannot ignore now. They need us, Neri clicked. Not just as workers or soldiers, but as equals. Together, the 4 representatives of worlds too harsh for most to survive made their way back to their shuttle, their alliance forged in battle but promising much more than just military cooperation. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concord shone with 1,000 lights. Representatives from 47 species filled the chamber. Some floated in anti-gravity fields. Others sat in pools of liquid. Many perched on specially designed seats for their unique bodies. At the center of attention stood 3 figures: Ambassador Park from Earth, Hack of the Vargar, and Neri of the Krell. They looked tired but proud. The battle against the swarm had ended just 2 weeks ago. Their injuries were still healing. Behind them sat Lieutenant Kim and the other military heroes from the 3 Deathworld species. They wore medals that the Concord had created specially to honor their service. Envoy Trill approached the speaking platform. The blue-skinned diplomat looked different now, humbler, perhaps wiser. Distinguished representatives, Trill began, voice carrying through the hall. We gather today to recognize an extraordinary service to our galactic community. The room grew quiet. When the swarm attacked, our standard defenses failed. Our technology proved inadequate. Our way of life was threatened. Trill turned to face the 3 Deathworld representatives directly. You have saved our civilization, Trill acknowledged. The Concord is in your debt. A murmur ran through the assembly. Such direct admission of debt was rare in Concord politics. Park stepped forward. His arm was still in a healing cast, but he stood tall. The people of Earth, the Vargar, and the Krell are honored to have helped defend the galaxy we all shared, he said. But now we must address the conditions under which our peoples have existed within the Concord. Hack and Neri moved to stand beside him. For centuries, Hack grumbled, the Varg have lived under restrictions. We mine your dangerous worlds. We build your stations in killing environments. Yet we cannot travel freely or determine our own destiny. The Krell have endured similar treatment, Neri added, her voice clicking. We clean your toxic waste. We contain your radiation leaks, yet we are kept separate, treated as tools rather than people. Park raised his hand, silencing the nervous whispers that had broken out. Then recognize us as equals, Park demanded. No more restrictions, no more exploitation, no more keeping Deathworlders apart, because you fear what might happen if we realized our common cause. The council chambers erupted in debate. Some representatives shouted their opposition. Others voiced support. The oldest members looked shocked at such direct demands. The Supreme Counselor, a wispy being from one of the gentlest worlds in the galaxy, raised all 4 of her arms for silence. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Park? A Deathworld alliance, Park replied without hesitation. An equal partner within the Concord. Our peoples maintain their sovereignty, but gain shared representation and equal rights throughout Concord space. Impossible, shouted one representative. The containment protocols have stood for millennia. The protocols failed, Kim called out from her seat. They nearly doomed us all. If Deathworlders had been integrated properly into the Concord, perhaps you would have been better prepared for the swarm. The debate raged for hours. Arguments about security, tradition, and stability were met with evidence of discrimination, exploitation, and short-sightedness. Finally, Envoy Trill spoke again. Perhaps it is time for the Concord to evolve, Trill said quietly. Our fear of the unknown led us to create policies that weakened rather than strengthened us. The vote was close, but the outcome was inevitable. The Deathworlders had proven themselves not just as warriors but as saviors. The debt could not be denied. 1 year later, the Grand Assembly Hall was decorated for a celebration. The formal recognition of the Deathworld Alliance as an equal partner in the Concord was about to take place. Park, now wearing the formal robes of humanity's first representative to the Alliance Council, stood with Hack and Nary on the ceremonial platform. Behind them hung the new Alliance emblem, 3 stars representing their homeworlds, surrounded by a ring symbolizing their unity. The past year had seen remarkable changes. The restrictions on Deathworld species had been lifted. Cultural exchange programs flourished. Travel between Earth, Vargrom, and Krell Prime was now commonplace. Scientific collaboration between the 3 species had already produced breakthroughs in medicine, material science, and environmental engineering. Envoy Trill, now serving as the Concord's liaison to the Alliance, stepped forward to offer the traditional blessing. We feared what we didn't understand, Trill admitted during the ceremony. We saw your strength as dangerous rather than valuable. The Concord has existed for 10,000 years, but to date we acknowledge that our oldest policies were rooted in fear rather than wisdom. Park nodded in acknowledgement. Fear is a natural response to difference, but evolution shapes us all differently for a reason. What makes Deathworlders survive harsh environments also makes us powerful allies. Lieutenant Kim, now General Kim, and head of the Joint Deathworlder Security Force, watched from her place of honor. The memory of fighting alongside Hack and Nary against the swarm still felt fresh. Their different abilities had made them stronger together than any single species could be alone. After the ceremony, the celebration moved to a grand reception hall. Representatives from across the galaxy mingled, many experiencing the food, music, and customs of Deathworld species for the first time. Try this, a human chef urged a group of hesitant aliens, offering small pieces of spicy food. It's mild by our standards. Nearby, Varga artisans demonstrated their heat-resistant crafts, creating beautiful glass sculptures by shaping molten material with their bare hands. Krell musicians played instruments that created harmonies in wavelengths beyond most species' hearing, but could be felt as vibrations through the floor. Park found himself standing with Hack, Nari, and Trill, watching the successful integration of cultures that had once been kept forcibly separate. I never imagined this day would come, Trill admitted. When our scouts first discovered Earth, we saw only another dangerous species to be contained. And now? Park asked. Now I understand that diversity is not something to fear, Trill replied. The galaxy faces threats we cannot predict. We need all forms of life, all evolutionary adaptations, all perspectives. A server approached with drinks suitable for each of their different biologies. As the 3 Deathworld ambassadors raised their glasses in toast, the gathered dignitaries finally understood. The greatest strength in the galaxy wasn't physical prowess, but diversity of adaptation. To the Alliance, Park said. To understanding, Hack rumbled. To the future, Nary clicked. Across the room, General Kim was speaking with young cadets from all 3 Deathworld species, the first class of the new Joint Defense Academy. They would train together, learn from each other's strengths, and protect a galaxy that now welcomed them as equals rather than tools. Outside the windows of the celebration hall, stars shone in the blackness of space. Somewhere out there, the swarm was regrouping. Other unknown threats might be emerging. But the galaxy was stronger now, more unified, more prepared for whatever might come. The Deathworlders had found their place at last. The end.